Hey everyone. In the last episode, I showed you how to register for your Red Hat developer license. Well, today we have a lot on our plate because we're going to install RHEL OS 9 on Proxmox. Then I'm going to patch the system and then show you how to download Ansible-Navigator and Ansible. So let's get right to it. Now, I've already uploaded my ISOs to my hypervisor. By the way, the hypervisor I'm going to be using today is Proxmox, as you can see here on the left-hand side. You can use any hypervisor. VMware Workstation, if you have a license for that, or if you're wanting free options, Proxmox like I have, VirtualBox. I believe if your Windows 10 or 11 has the license, you can also use the Hyper-V. Either or, this should work on any hypervisor that's out there. Now, so to upload it, you would just go log in to Proxmox, find your drive where you want your images to be, that's whatever shared storage you've set up ahead of time. So you just click on it, you go to ISO images, and then you just click upload, and then you select your file that you downloaded. And again, we're just going to do RHEL 9 in this video. Now, I've already moved the RHEL 9 and RHEL 10 in preparation of other videos. You just need to create your VM. So we're going to go ahead up here at the very top where it says Create VM in the blue button. And then we're going to fill out all the options. I'll explain them as we go. So this asks you if you have multiple nodes in your environment. I have 2 nodes, but we're going to put it on the Proxmox Super Micro. Again, this is whatever you've named your cluster to be. Then you choose a VM ID, give it a name. So we're just going to call this RHEL 9 demo. This is where we get to choose the ISO image that we've uploaded. I'm going to choose the shared drive for storage. And then I'm going to choose the RHEL 9.6 because that's what's currently out as of July 4th, 2025. You don't have to really mess with these other settings. It's up to you if you want to. For the system, again, I always like to, since it's Proxmox, this is different for other hypervisors, but I like to check QME agent. Maybe I'll do a video on that later on. Keep everything the default. As for the disks, this is where you get to choose how large you want the main disk to be on your installation. Now, I'm only going to do an installation for just one disk. You could add multiple disks if you want to. It's totally up to you. You just click on the Add button. But for this one, I'm going to choose storing the VM on this shared drive. I'm going to give it 50 gigs. You can give it however many gigs you want. In my experience, at least when I'm dealing with stuff here at the house, I like to give it at least 50 gigs. And then later on, I might add an additional storage for any type of applications or anything special. But 50 gigs seems to be a good round number. And we're going to carve that up into different volume groups and logical volumes. And I'll show you how to do that when we do the installation. And then it asks you the format that you'd like to install this as. I'm just going to leave the default. There are advantages for each one of these. But since we're dealing with Proxmox, we'll just deal with the QME image format. Next. As for CPUs, I always like to give it at least 2. It doesn't need it, depending on how powerful your hardware is. However, I'm going to give it probably 2, 1 socket, 2 cores. And then memory, again, this is up to you. For our demo, this is going to be fine for us. And then network, I'm just going to choose the default network that I've set up Proxmox on. All right, then it's asking us to confirm some things. Look over it, make sure you didn't make any mistakes. Click finish. Now, once we do that, you can see here on the left-hand side, it's building, or it's starting to build the base VM. We've done no installation, of course, but it's getting all that ready. So we click on RHEL 9. Now, I've found, at least with my hardware, I can't speak for other hardware, mine's kind of old. As you can see here, I'm going to kind of show you. This is my hardware right here. It's an old Super Micro that I bought off eBay long ago. And as you can see, I have an old Xenon processor. I mean, it works great for everything I need, but it's not the most up-to-date if you're doing like hosting any so most up-to-date video games, that sort of thing. So going back to RHEL 9 here, I'm going to go to hardware. I'm going to change, if memory serves me here, the type of processor. I have found that host works best for me. RHEL 9, I remember long ago, I don't know if it still has this problem. So if you have the problem where once we've done the install, the VM comes up, you're loading into the OS, and for some reason it kind of locks up or crashes, you might want to change the CPU to host. I've found that when I had it QME and others, it messed up. It would just lock up, have corrupted data, that sort of thing. So I'm going to change this to host. And let me make sure under CD-ROM here, or CD, that we have our ISO. It looks like we do. So now we're ready to start this bad boy. All right. Start. And as we start it, I'm going to look at the console. Okay. So we're going to choose install RedHat Enterprise Linux 9.6. And then as we go through this, I'm going to fast forward anything that takes a long time or cut it out. Feel free to pause at any time if your system needs to catch up. Okay. Now we just choose our language. Click continue. Okay, so we're going to fill out each one of these, most of these items, based upon what I've done in the past. So the first thing we're going to do is set our root password. I don't like, for at least for my home, I don't like to lock the root account. And I do want root to log in to SSH. Time zone is set automatically for my area, which is great. You may need to update that for your own. English, software. We'll get into software here soon. Let's work on disabling kdump. You might want this to stay enabled if you're doing any type of development work, like you're working on Java or any other application, and you need that core dump to analyze to find out why your application or code crashed. Okay, and system. This is where we actually get to modify our volume groups, logical volumes, that sort of thing. I'm going to separate mine so that way, again, this is based on my experience working at companies. I'm going to separate mine so that way, if any logs fill up, it doesn't fill up root, and then the whole system crashes, stuff like that. Okay, all right, so we're going to do automatic at first, and then we're going to edit it. Just give me a second here. It's been a while. Customize. Done. All right. Now that I've selected customized, I'm going to tell it to create it automatically. Kind of get you started, especially if you're new and you don't know, the Linux operating system in terms of its folders and directory structure. Of course, root is really important. Boot's also really important. I'm not going to modify boot. I am not going to modify swap. I might make a little change. And however, we are going to heavily modify the root and other. We're going to add some things. You'll see. Okay. All right. So I'm going to choose bump root down to about 15 gigs. Okay, we're going to modify the volume group, and we're going to call this RHEL VG, or sorry, root VG. Now, the reason I'm doing this versus keeping the default of RHEL is because in my experience working at other companies, having a standard to name your volume groups across multiple VMs is really helpful, especially if you're working with a team of individuals. Helps organize where things are installed, what things are named. So if you need to troubleshoot something with a team member, it's just easy to have a standard. So at the house, here at home, I have the same thing, a standard. So I call it root VG. We're going to save it. All right, now that the volume group has been named root VG, we're going to change the logical volume. Now, you can do yours any way you like. I like to do mine LV for logical volume, so that way I know if I ever need to extend root's logical volume, that I can easily identify the name. Also, too, this is your choice on what you want to do in terms of the file system. XFS is definitely the default and is what's recommended by RedHat. In my experience, XFS is a good file system. I haven't had a lot of problems out of it. I did, I think, when RHEL 8 first came out, but when it comes to RHEL 9, I've had very little problems with XFS being corrupted or the data on it being corrupted. But it has happened, and there is a repair binary, XFS underscore repair, I believe. It works, but I've had a few instances where it hasn't worked. However, if you choose extension 4 or extension 3, Again, these are older file systems. I've found that those have been able to repair the majority of the time. But I'll leave that up to you. We're going to choose XFS. It's also the fastest in terms of the default file systems. Okay, we have our root, 15 gigs. We've renamed our volume group. If we click on boot, it takes a little while for it to switch over. So if you see a delay, don't worry, that's normal. Root does have to be a standard partition, not an LVM like it was with the root file system. Looks good there. Swap, it's LVM, but it's a special file system called swap. We're going to just choose 2 gig. Exactly, if it'll let me make that change. And you can even name your rename your swap here. We can do LV swap if you would like. However, it doesn't really matter because eventually I might get rid of swap. On a VM, I mean, it depends, right? In a production environment, you might want that swap there to give you extra breathing room in case an application just starts going out of control, has a memory leak, and starts taking up all your RAM. So a swap is really good for ensuring that your OS doesn't lock up and crash. In my experience, swap has saved a lot of production systems, especially if your company uses vendors that don't really do a good job with their code. In your home environment, on your home lab, you might not need it. Technically, it slows the virtual machine down because it's writing the memory to disk. It's up to you. Okay, so we're going to add a few directories here. Let's do var first, and let's give it. Now, you might want this longer, especially if you're doing any type of containers. Containers are under the, I can't remember off the top of my head, but var lib, I believe. Don't quote me on that. So you might want to give it more room. However, for this, we'll just give it 10 gig. All right. Let's make sure all our settings are correct. I'm going to call this LV var. Add a new one. Var log. Just going to give it 5 gig. And we'll do a /temp. I want to give it 5 gig. Now you might want this longer for your temp. Theoretically, when you download something, it should go in your home drive or /temp. It's up to you on how large you want it to be. In organizations that I've worked, we've gone from very little 5 gigs to 10 gigs to 15 gigs. It really just depends on who's going to use a VM and what for. I'm going to use 5 gig. And let's do 10 gig for /home. I need to go back and make sure I've renamed all my LVs. Again, there's always a little delay before it moves over. Okay, it looks good to me. We got about almost 2 gig left. We'll leave it be for now. You can always extend root if we need to, or put more in home or more temp, etc., etc. All right, so we're going to press done. lets us know of all the changes it's going to make. You can review it if you'd like. Accept changes. Okay. Now we're going to go down to the software selection. Since this is just a demo, I'm going to choose server, and then I'm going to choose a few agents here. Guest agents. Give me a moment while I scroll down and review these. I'm going to do system tools. And there's one more, if I remember correctly. Enable the system to attach network storage. All right, so I chose guest agents, network file system client, and system tools. That way, if you have a Windows, this is good for doing Windows shares to Linux hosts. This is good for NFS mounts, sharing file system across each Linux host. And then, of course, guest agent, as you know, since this is under a hypervisor. Okay, click Done. Now, when it comes to the network and the host name, I have a built-in server that gives IPs away in my house. So you may not. So you might have to manually type in the IP address that you want to give it on your network. That's totally up to you on how you want it done. You just click Configure, and then you would fill out the appropriate areas here. For example, IPv4 settings you would add in. You would do manual, and you would type in what IP address that you want. 10 for mine it's 10 dot whatever. For yours it might be 192. Right now I'm going to cancel this. All right. And we're just going to call this RHEL 9 demo. Apply. Okay. I think we're ready for the install. Begin installation. So this will take a while. I'm going to fast forward it, of course.
A few moments later.
Okay. Looks like it's finished. We're going to reboot the system like it says. Now, while that's rebooting, give it some time. I like to remove the DVD ISO. We'll wait here. I want to show you everything that's on the screen. As you can see, I have old hardware. All right. We have restarted. So we're going to log in with our root credentials that we set up at installation. All right. We'll take a look. You can see there's our logical volumes that we created. There's our one volume group. Okay. So I'm going to shut this down. I'm going to remove the DVD drive or the image, the ISO. I'm going to start her back up. And then Okay, while this is booting, bring up SuperPutty. It's my terminal that I use. I'm going to add in RHEL 9 demo. Wrong password. You'll notice I fat finger things a lot, so you'll have to forgive me. All right. Now I'm filling in the information for my putty session, so that way when I double click on it, it goes straight to it. Let's see if SSH works. So this is normal. This is just, hey, we noticed that you haven't connected to this before. Do you want to cache it? And by the way, this is the host's fingerprint. So we're going to accept it. Log in. There we go. Awesome. I'm going to switch over to a different, I'm going to make the font a little bit bigger. Okay. And then we'll switch over to, okay, I got my settings all set up now. Sorry about that. Okay, so now we're logged in. So you've successfully installed RHEL 9 on a hypervisor. Now for a bonus, let's register our copy so that way we can get the repository so we can download cool stuff like Ansible and other RPMs, to ensure that patching's done. So, okay, so let's register with the RedHat subscription manager. To do this, since we're logged in as root, we're going to type in subscription-manager register. Now, what should happen is that we should be prompted for our login ID. This is the login ID that I had in episode 1 where we created our Red Hat developer license. So just use that same account. And assuming I typed everything in correctly, it'll reach out, register. And, okay. So next we want to attach any available subscriptions. To do that, you can do subscription manager attach -- auto. Actually, before we do that, let's go to this directory. As you can see, there's in Etsy yum.repos.d. This is where the repo configuration file is for the repositories that we're subscribed to. As you can see, there's several repositories here. Several. I mean, I'm not going to go through each one of these, but as you can see, a lot of them are not enabled. So to be on the safe side, let's just go ahead and do this command and clear subscription-manager attach -- auto. Basically, this should make sure that all available subscriptions that we have are done. So after attaching this to 7.4, because sample content SCA is enabled. Okay, all right. This is more prevalent at at work, since we have the developer license. Don't need it, of course, but it's a good command to look at. Let's list any repositories. You can list with this command here: subscription -manager space repos -list. This may be a lot, but it'll list all repositories. Yep, as you can see, a lot. Now you could even do something like this if you wanted to, using grep, popping it out and saying, you know what, I believe it's -b for 1, and then minus, can't remember if it's capital or not. We'll find out after. We'll do 3, and then we're going to look for I'll move the screen a little bit. Sorry. Okay. Wait for Ansible. Give it a moment. Okay. So in terms of our output here, so here's the command I used. Basically, it stands for, I believe, 1 line before whatever is found in grep, 3 lines after. So we should see 1 line before, 3 lines after whatever it found that I typed, in this case Ansible. As you can see, here are the Ansible repositories. You got your debug, your source. Okay, what we're going to do is that we're going to ignore anything with debug in it, and I know in Ansible Automation Platform 2.5 is the newest. I'm more familiar with 2.4, so we're going to use 2.4. Oh, look what I did. I messed that up. Anyways, the name is all I want, though, or the repo ID. We're going to grab this, put it on our clipboard, and then we are going to enable this. We'll type in subscription manager repos enable, and then we're going to paste our repository. Now this should enable the Ansible Automation repository. All right, great. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to show you how to patch your system. This is a bonus. All right, so in RHEL 9, well, actually RHEL 8, 9, and 10, you use DNF. You can still use yum to do any updates. So if you want to do DNF update -y saying yes, update everything, that'll work. I believe yum update -y works the same way. As you can see, plenty of new things to download. Each month you should patch your system to be on the safe side. And the companies I've worked for, we always do monthly patching to make sure we have the latest security updates. You know, that it's important, especially if you're running a business. Okay, as you can see, still patching, but it's importing the GPG keys that are from the specific repositories. GPG keys are there for, again, security. Make sure you're getting the right information from the right repositories, because there are a lot of people out there who make up fake repositories and have you download things. This is why it's important to have a Red Hat developer license to make sure you're getting the right code, the right RPMs that are secure. Now I'm going to fast forward through all this.
A few moments later.
All right, it's finished. Okay, so we've successfully patched our OS. At this point, if you're not going to do anything, I would suggest at least restarting your OS. The reason why is because if you have a new kernel, which it looks like we do, we can see a new kernel was installed. It allows it to actually take effect. Because right now, even though we've patched, it's still using the older kernel that we initially booted up with. And that could have security problems. You never know. Anyways, so another bonus activity is installing Ansible. In this channel, we're going to use Ansible a lot because I love Ansible. So with that being said, let's install Ansible, or at least get this RHEL 9 demo environment ready to go. Now, depending on, you might be studying for your RHCSA or your RH Red Hat RHCE. Sorry, you might be studying for either of those. I actually just recently passed myself. I think probably about a month or so ago. Right now, I'm working on the advanced automation class. I think it's like DO3 something. Anyways, so part of that is learning how to install Ansible automation platform or Ansible in general. Now, to do that, you just do DNF install Ansible-Navigator. And at this point, some of these are probably redundant, but Ansible automation platform common, that's a long one. And I believe there's, I believe it Ansible core. Double check. We'll find out. So yes. Now, some of the prerequisites for Ansible is Python. I believe it's like for AAP, Ansible Automation Platform 2.4, which is what we're installing. I believe it's Python 3.8, and that comes default on RHEL 9. If you're using a different distribution to do the installation, just keep that in mind that you might need to install Python as a prerequisite. Okay, so now let's do Ansible. Let's see if this works. There we go, Ansible version. Pretty cool. Let's see if we have Ansible. I don't know if this will work. We'll see. There we go. So we now have Ansible installed and Ansible-Navigator. Now, if you don't know what Ansible-Navigator is, it is a tool used to help develop playbooks. In the past, you actually still can do Ansible -playbook, run playbooks, right? I believe that's right. Ansible tab. You can see all the Ansible commands here. Yeah, Ansible -playbook. However, because of Ansible Automation Platform, you have these things called execution environments, and Ansible-Navigator allows you to use those execution environments to run your code. So you're able to keep your environments the same as you would if you move, to a different node or whatnot. But yeah, we'll have how-to videos on how to use that. We'll be using Ansible-Navigator a lot, Ansible in general a lot, so you might want to go ahead and install it. Okay, that is it for today. Again, if you have any questions, please put those in the comment. I'll be glad to answer them. If you have any requests as well, if you like everything that we talked about today, please like and subscribe the video. I would appreciate it. It helps out a lot. But that's all I have for you today. I hope y'all have a great day. Take care.